When is the movie set to be released?
I'm not sure. I don't know if he's made his deal yet. I did get a text message from him the other way. He was working on a deal, but I don't know how or when.
Okay.
You'll probably find out before I know.
Okay. You have several other projects going on as well. Tell us a little bit about your book project that you have coming out.
Ah, yeah, me and Robert Guillaume. It's a book that we've put together. We like to call it a book of encouragement, really. And the title of it, of course, is Secrets. Take a look at yourself. The idea, of course, is for people to, I think, believe that and know that they matter, really, in the discussion of life. You have a point of view, and it means something. These are ideas that I share with Robert, who I started out, actually, my involvement in the book, I just started to, I'll give you a little background on it. We are brothers-in-law, and so we go back 20 years or so. But he had a stroke in 1999, and we began, our relationship changed. I started to try to be his, what I call his left side, as his left side was impaired, so I decided to take over that part of him. And so we've been traveling together for a long time and discussing everything, from history to art to you name it. And so one day we were discussing one thing or another, and I don't know how we finally decided that I might have said to Robert, you know what, I think maybe we ought to put these ideas down. And he perhaps agreed, or he might have said it to me. I don't really remember how we started. I just remember going out the next day, buying a tape deck, a little small tape recorder, and started recording, made up a series of questions, not unlike what you're doing, and started to ask him these questions. And I would come daily, and he would give us his answers. I was telling a young lady today who actually saw one of the DVDs on what we were doing, and she was talking about it. And I said, if you notice that I ask Robert sort of specific questions about people of color and so forth, but his answers are expansive to the point where they include everybody. And she said, yes, I noticed that. So it's pretty hard for me to say at this point who is going to get the most out of the book. But it started out as a kind of a handbook for people of color, because there are no books written or discussed in literature where I can go and find a book about, well, what exactly what is my involvement in the industry? How do I fit? Where do I fit? I know they've taught me all the others, but so it kind of started out for me that way, but Robert changes the tone of it by his answers, really, but it's still in the same vein. He'll be able to tell you something more about it later, I'm sure.
You recently did a Father's Day tribute, a theater piece by playwright Cosman Russell.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate to come out and take it all in, and so tell us about that. How did that relationship come about with Cosman and your experience with the play?
Well, first of all, thank you for coming. I was glad you were there. I got a call from Aloma Wright, the director. She said she wanted to do a piece about Joe Jackson, Michael Jackson's father, and I said very quickly, I don't think so. I'd seen the footage on him. I'd heard from Michael he was an abuser, and I thought, I don't think so. Then she asked me to read the play, and so I did. And when I finished reading the play, I called her and said, when do we start? Because what I saw was not so much Joseph Jackson, but I saw more a father having to make choices about how he raises his family. And then I began to hone in on the fact that, yikes, this guy made some pretty good choices in spite of what I might think and believe. If I look at the fact that he's given us Michael Jackson, he gave us the whole Jackson family. And then, of course, the play tells the story of how he did that. And I like the fact that he was coming under indictment, because we've all indicted him. And so they were able to ask him questions, and then he had a defense attorney that was able to show us his human side. And so it caused me to look at him totally different. And I thought, I kind of like this because this is right alongside of the idea of why I'm an actor. I like to humanize people, and I know that when writers write, they give us one color. And it's my job to bring in all the rest of those colors that tell us more about the human being. And so I was very honored and happy to be able to do it. And I think probably people who saw it had a different perspective on him, a little more enlightened perspective.
That's true. I know I did. It was quite a powerful piece, and I had not seen you in a theater production before, and it was riveting. So
Thank you.
to give you that.
Thank you. Let me just give Cosman some credit here. He's a father. And I don't know, were you there when his daughter read her piece? No, on Father's Day, her daughter read a piece she wrote for him because she's becoming a writer. But I really liked the theme of what he was trying to do, and that was to show us fathers. Because, we always talk about they're missing and they're never there and so forth. And his whole idea was to try to give some light and honor to fathers, different, the pieces you saw. But they all had the same idea. Let's raise up and celebrate and give some, homage to black fathers. And I really, really appreciated that. So that's why I did it.
It was a very special and a very different twist, because each of the three stage plays were very unique in that at the end of it, it really took a twist. It didn't take you where you thought you were going.
Yes, it's clever.
That was wonderful.
I thought he did a good job.
Absolutely. And on a personal note, what are some favorite things that you do when you're not performing?
Oh gosh, I like to travel when I can. You get a certain age, and when you've worked a long time, if you get a chance, if you can travel with the work, that's really good because they pay for everything. But then after you've worked a while, you really, really want to enhance your life by experiencing and exploring other cultures and other ideas. You can read about them. You can even, see videos on them. But to actually go there is probably the funnest part of life, I think, for one who comes from humble beginnings, and the most you could travel was a couple of blocks. So that part, but obviously I'm a grandfather, and so the grandkids carry with them their own, unconditional love that you just have to be around them, and your spirits are lifted, and then you can have some influence about how they grow up, and you can do your role modeling work there. I used to love to dance. Don't dance much anymore. I like to sing in the shower. I'm not a singer. But no, those are things that I've done all my life, though. I used to sing in the choir in high school and that sort of thing. Those things never leave you, especially when you get your private moments and so I'm just a simple guy like that.
Tell us about your family. You mentioned a grandfather.
Yeah, I've got a couple of daughters. I've got 7 grandchildren at this point. I come from a large family of 12. So, I'm used to big families, but, and I come from 6 brothers and 6 sisters. What an education that was, see? I'm second oldest, so I got to watch the ones come up. And I had to be a warrior as a kid because I had sisters. And so needless to say, you mess with my sisters, I go to war on you. It's just the way it was. And they weren't the, looking back, the easiest ones to deal with because they had their big brothers. So, they weren't worried about much. But I come from a very loving family, very close. We have several different religions in the family, and we've learned how to honor each other by simply not talking about it. You see, that's the way we keep the peace around the house.
Now, of your grandchildren, any of them following in your footsteps, creative?
I don't know if they will or not, but I am seeing the potential for, because of course if they do, first I would try to discourage anybody from going into acting, just to test their mettle. And if I saw that they were really, really serious, then of course I would encourage them as best I could. But I would really want to test them out to see if they had the stuff that it takes for a long-term career, a kind of stamina, commitment, and joy. If there's a joy there, then you don't have to worry. That's half of it, because they'll do it on their own. You don't have to tell them anything. You just show up to their performances and encourage. You see what I mean? I think I have a young granddaughter named Anijah, and she's been, since I've been taking her shopping started taking her shopping about 4 or 5 years old, and she was able to pick out for herself, because I'd walk by and say, what do you think about that? Nah, I don't think so. And she started, look at this, and she'd point and I'd pick it up. And it turns out it was quite good. I loved it. So I started to begin to think, she's got an eye for fashion. So every time they send me those things from Macy's or any of those little stores, I hand them to her, because they've got all those different. Well, it turns out, to show you how this works, she was kind of struggling with her classes there at school. She has an attention deficit thing, whatever they call that, where you can't pay attention for long periods. I know from having worked with her homework, she requires you have to be right there. But in this case, her artistic stuff shot straight up. Now she's doing straight A work on the artistic side of it. So there's an artist there in the making. My Jeremiah, he's a numbers guy, loves math and science, so I don't think he's going into this. So I don't know yet. It's still too early. We'll see.
What advice would you give to young actors that are getting in the business today about becoming an actor as opposed to a celebrity?
Well, celebrities are actors too, contrary to popular belief. They usually start out as actors, then they become celebrities. But having said that, I'd say probably if you have a passion for it and a love for it, don't look for anything out of it. They told me years ago it's in the journey. I've come to know that and believe it. It's really true. It's in the journey. How do you get there? That's where it's at. Because that's where your life is, and you build your history and your stories to tell. For young people, do it. I'm old-fashioned. I say study it, learn it, read about it, experience it, go to the theater, see what they do. If you develop a passion for it, you're going to continue to seek out the answers to it. If you can, if you're lucky, like I've been, get around smart people. Get around some successful people who've enjoyed some success at it, because they're able to pass things on to you that are quite helpful while you're trying to make your way up. If you're lucky, because I think that's a word that I like to use, the word blessed, but I like to couple it with that word luck too. I think there's something to it in the show business, because if a person has the it factor, we see it, and we cannot identify it, but we sure know it. And that it factor will take the person where as high as they're going to go. I encourage people to believe in themselves. Because going to be a lot of times, don't nobody believe. They think you half crazy. Don't nobody believe in you. That's why you have to believe in yourself. Starts with you. And by the way, I can't believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. So that's why, and we'll get more into it later, but that's why the book is what it is. Believe in yourself. Believe in it, and you can do it. Someone told me if you can imagine it, you can do it, and I believe that. If you can conjure it up in your mind, you can do it. Well, you would know that, wouldn't you?